All right, hey everyone, Stat 113 people. So we are going to now change gears a little bit and move on from talking about collecting data to talking about some data exploration stuff. And so throughout this data exploration, we're going to see how we can kind of summarize data either using numeric summaries or using graphs. And so just to kind of get us going for this section of notes, throughout most of it, we're going to use some baseball data. So we've got some data on 436 players in Major League Baseball who had at least 100 bats, and this is in the year 2010. So the data is a little bit dated at about 10 years old. So if you're a baseball fan and you're kind of thinking about this data, try to think back to about 10 years ago, who were the major players then. And so we've got kind of this table that gives some of the observations. So it's common to kind of present a table that has not all of it, because that would be like pages and pages of data for the 436 players, but just some of these names. So you might recognize Ichiro Suzuki, Derek Jeter, and that's about as far as I can make it. But and we've got a bunch of variables that we've recorded for each player. So we've got their team, their position, the number of at-bats, their number of runs, hits, RB. We won't really use any of these, so you don't have to worry about familiarizing yourself with baseball terminology if you're not a fan. Batting average, the number of home runs they hit, we will use this one, and then a second position variable that we'll use a little bit later. And so you could kind of recall that our definition of tidy, where each row contains a case, each column contains a variable, that holds for this example. And so take a second to go ahead and pause the video and see if you could kind of review what we did in the last section and answer these two questions about if home run is numeric or categorical, and then whether player position is a numeric or categorical variable. Okay, so that should just be kind of a quick checkup from last time. So home run, you can see it right here, it's all numbers, so that's numeric. And player position is going to be categorical. All right, and so we're going to start our exploration with just looking at numeric variables. And so we're going to skip this graph for now. So I'm going to make a note that we're going to do this in class, this histogram. And instead, we're going to jump straight to this dot plot, which is slightly more intuitive. And so if we're looking at the number of home runs for these 2010 or 2010 baseball players, all this dot plot is doing is it's letting each dot represent one player. And so if, for example, we see a bunch of dots that are stacked together at 0, so that means that each of these individual players did not hit a single home run in the year 2010. Whereas up here, this player hit about, I'm looking at the x-axis here, about like 55 home runs. If you're a baseball person, you could think about maybe who this person was that hit so many home runs. I just looked at the data to check. And so some guy named Batista. I have no idea who that is, but if you're a baseball person, you probably do know. So he's this one dot way up here, and then we have someone that hit over 40, someone else hit about 39, two people hit 38, 37, and then it goes down the line. Okay, and so that is one of our graphs that we're using to kind of just explore. This is just one numeric variable. And the y-axis is really a count because we're stacking them on top of each other. All right, so like I mentioned before, we're saving this histogram stuff for class. So we'll do a little activity to kind of introduce what a histogram is. It's just another type of plot that we could use to explore one numeric variable. Okay, pretty neat. And so in the next video, we will move on from our graphs and talk about different ways that we could summarize a numeric variable numerically by talking about its center, its spread, and its shape.